Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. Ohio State Rutgers preview, noon Saturday, Ohio Stadium. Gus and Joel, right? Gus and Joel on the call.
So I've heard, yeah. But no big noon show.
No,
that is in Cincinnati.
Show. That's in Cincinnati. So we are here to talk about the Ohio State Fighting Buckeyes and the Rutgers Fighting Scarlet Knights. 31.5-point spread for the hometown Buckeyes, who are 10-0 on the season, number 1 in the country. Rutgers is 5-5. The over/under is 55.5. Ohio State is 10-0 all time versus Rutgers, which is something I want to talk about. They have scored at least 49 points against Rutgers every time in Columbus. So if we want to keep that in mind. Did you get a weather forecast, Weatherman Bill?
I haven't double checked it. I think it's supposed to be okay. I think it's just rain Friday, not Saturday.
Okay. So 31.5-point spread's pretty hefty. Ohio State did cover it last week against UCLA, thanks to the second-team offense touchdown engineered by Lincoln Kienholz. Rutgers started 3-0 in the non-conference, beat Ohio University 34-31. Then in week 3, Ohio State beat OU 37-9. So that's a common opponent there, for instance. In the Big Ten, Rutgers has 2 wins, Purdue and Maryland. They've lost to Iowa, Minnesota, Washington, Oregon, and Illinois. They lost 56-10 to Oregon. Oregon was ahead 42-3 at the half in that one, and then called off the dogs a little bit. My first question about this game, Bill Landis, is will Rutgers have the 2 best receivers on the field in Ohio Stadium on Saturday?
That is an excellent question. My guess is probably, yeah. I don't think Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith will play in this one. That's just a guess. That's not based off anything other than like vibes this week, I guess. So then it's left to Ohio State's very young receivers against Ian Strong and KJ Duff, who are 2 of the better receivers in the Big Ten outside of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. So yes, I think it's possible that Rutgers will have the 2 best receivers on the field this week.
Receiving yards per game among Big Ten receivers, Mekhi Lemon for USC is first at 109 receiving yards per game. KJ Duff of Rutgers is second at 92.3 yards. Jeremiah Smith is third at 90.2. Ian Strong is fourth at 89.5 yards. Carnell Tate is fifth at 88.9 yards. So if they were both healthy with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate in this game, we'd have 4 of the 5 leading receivers in the Big Ten. We have not talked about this since Wednesday night when we talked to Ryan Day after practice on Wednesday. And the most interesting part of that little exchange was he was asked about Julian Sayen's health because Julian Sayen rolled his ankle a little bit against UCLA, and he responded to that question and said he's practiced and he's fine. He's good to go. Mm-hmm. He was asked about C.J. Donaldson's health. You said you saw C.J. Donaldson was out against UCLA. He did not play against UCLA. You said you saw pregame what with C.J. Donaldson last week?
I thought he had his left thumb taped up.
Okay. So Ryan Day responded to the question about C.J. Donaldson by saying, like, he's practiced. He should be good to go. And then when I asked him, how have things gone this week for Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, he said they're working hard to get back, and I don't want to say anything else about it. So he was willing to divulge 2 positive injury updates about important players on this team in Julian Sayen and C.J. Donaldson, and then he did not provide any specific information about Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. And this is related. We'll continue to talk about this because we have not talked about it. I wrote about it on our Substack as soon as we got done on Tuesday, for instance, on our chat with our Substack subscribers. We gave them all this information on Wednesday evening. That's what we do on Substack. If you want to go hang out on Substack, we'd love to have you join us over there, billanddougosu.substack.com. We have not talked about it here. Did you read anything into that, the differences between what was revealed by Ryan Day from an injury standpoint and what was not?
I mean, I noted it. Yeah, I don't know that I read much into it because my expectation was just that those guys aren't going to play this week anyway. So he's not going to say that, and he might as well sort of leave it up in the air, right? Because again, like I do believe he thinks that Ohio State gained some sort of competitive advantage by not providing clarity on their situations with the Michigan game looming. So I guess I'll say, like, I showed up on Tuesday to the press conference thinking both guys probably weren't going to play this week and that they'll play against Michigan, and I still feel that way. I don't think anything's really changed for me.
Yeah. So I think, and then next week we will be talking with Ryan Day on Tuesday of Michigan week. We'll plan to talk with players on Wednesday as we normally do. Ohio State week. And so this obviously continues to be a major story, as was pointed out by one of our Substack subscribers in the chat over there. Like when Ohio State has a season-ending injury, like last year when they had it with Seth McLaughlin, or they had it with, like they did announce that. Like we weren't going through the season being like, I don't know, is Josh Simmons going to play this week? I don't know. It's like, no, he can't play. So I think the lack of certified information either way does matter. That they certainly aren't. Nobody has said no Carnell, no JJ, and nobody has said we'll see you Saturday. They're good to go. It's this in between, but like the in between is not automatically worst case scenario. But I at this point would be shocked if they play against Rutgers, because what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. Unless like they want to get Carnell some run before Michigan, but my gut, because he hasn't played the last 2 weeks. But I would likewise be very surprised if either guy plays.
But then, as I'm agreeing with you, I don't know that there's anything that we would be operating under the idea of we secretly think they aren't going to play against Michigan, and like we're afraid to say it. Like I'm thinking no this week, probably yes the following week, unless some new information comes out that we don't currently have.
That's exactly where I am. Yeah, I've seen few, not many, suggest that like even if there's any doubt for Michigan, don't play them in that game because they want to win a national title. I don't think that's where Ohio State's headspace is relative to those two, because they want to beat Michigan and they want to go to the Big Ten title game. So like I'm not 100% they're going to play against Michigan, but I'm probably like 90% they're going to play against Michigan. Just like my feeling, not based off any information that I know, just kind of in the same spot as you. No real reason to play them this week, and there's really no reason to play them last week. And then we'll see if they're ready for Ann Arbor.
Not that that's what this show is about, but we talk about Ohio State stuff in every way possible. If you were Ohio State and you could be at full strength from a health perspective for either the Michigan game or the Big Ten championship game, and then regardless of those situations, you would be fine for the playoff. So let's keep it. That's like, well, then if you can't play in the Big Ten championship game, are you sure you're going to be? You will be, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you rather be at your healthiest for, Michigan or Indy?
Michigan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just was double checking because okay, so it's like if they're not all the way there, like hold them out for Michigan, like for what? So then now are you just like being
for the playoff? Like don't play them until
cautious.
Yeah.
Like wrap them in bubble wrap until the Rose Bowl. Like that would be the idea here, because like I also, if they're actually hurt, then yes, it's like if they can't play. But I think even from if it's more about caution, I'm not sure that bubble wrap until the Rose Bowl is actually the best thing to do, because I think now then you're creating the opportunity for some rust and for, whatever, if it's not that like, well, they're not physically able to play. I think I'd rather have them out there doing a little bit, but I just wouldn't rather have them do it against Rutgers.
Right. And I also too would think, and again, this is just me spitballing, nothing about what I believe Ohio State to be thinking, play them against Michigan and then sit them. Like, don't play them in the Big Ten championship, because if you beat Michigan, you secure a bye.
I agree, because we've discussed that all year. We believe if it's a 12-0, Ohio State, Indiana, the winner's the 1, the loser's the 3. And now we can get into arguments of like, is the 3 seed better than the 1 seed in terms of your path?
Oh, yeah. That's not exactly where I wanted to go, but it's just, for me, it's more about, do you have to play 2 weeks after the Big Ten championship or not? And if Ohio State gets there, they won't have to. Yeah.
So I think that is correct. And then if you asked anybody in that building, as much as Ryan Day has discussed, these guys haven't been to Indy. Nobody on this team has been to Indy or won a Big Ten championship. That, of course, matters. If it's a binary choice, win the Big Ten championship or beat Michigan, it's a gazillion to 0 on that vote, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I actually think that like, let's play them against Michigan. We think they're okay. We think we're not aggravating anything. We think we're not threatening their playoff availability. We're not doing anything to harm their future earnings potential in the NFL. It's hard for anybody to be 100%, but like they can play against Michigan. And then if they got if playing Michigan does a little something to them, then we'll see them in the Rose Bowl or whatever, or whatever the bowl is.
It'll be almost a month. Yeah.
Because, we've lived in this world where the more you expand the playoff, the more people get worried about the regular season. And when you create this situation where you can get a bye without winning your conference championship, it's like, well, what is the value of a conference championship anymore? And that is it's a reasonable discussion, but like that is a much less important discussion than what is the value of the best rivalry in college football. And it's like, man, if whatever the value of a Big Ten championship is, it's not the same as a Michigan win. So
would rather have the gold pants than whatever the Amos Alonso Stag trophy. That's what they give out.
You can't put that on your keychain anyway. So it's like, what's the point? Yeah. Your mom can't wear the Amos Alonso Stag trophy around her neck on a necklace. How confident would you be in a bet that is no Tate, no Smith for Rutgers, both for Michigan?
I'd be pretty confident. Yeah.
I think I would too.
I'd place a wager on that if I could. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to talk about the other guys, KJ Duff and Ian Strong? You got. I'm gonna admit I'm not experts here. Are they pretty good? The Rutgers guys we're talking about?
Yeah, they're they're good. They're big. Duff is 6'6" and Strong is 6'3", and they are number 1 and number 2 in the country in contested catches. They also have a lot of contested catch opportunities because I guess they don't create a ton of separation, but but when throwing the ball in contested situations, they catch them. It's like they lead in catches, but like not in catch rate because KJ Duff has like 17 on 31 tries or something like that. But they're big. They got decent speed. And then there's like DT Sheffield's the third one, is a slot guy they brought in, transfer from North Texas, who's got some real speed, but has not played as well as the other two and isn't targeted as much. But I do think like the Rutgers offense versus Ohio State defense is mildly interesting in this game. And this is not me trying to take anything away from Ohio State's defense. I think they're excellent. I think when they play good offenses, they're going to be good. But they haven't played a lot of good offenses this year. Yeah. By like EPA per play, this is the second best offense they're going to see this year. Like better than Michigan, actually, which is like kind of weird. Because they throw the ball really well, and then their running back, Antoine Raymond's like kind of a maniac. Second leading rusher in the Big Ten, and I think he's 4th in the country in missed tackles for. So, and like Ethan Kaliakmanis, for better or for worse, is going to challenge your defense with throws. He might throw the ball to you, but he's going to give his guys opportunities to make plays. So, like Oregon totally shut him down. So Ohio State could very well do the same, and I think is likely to. But we've not had much in a way of like matchups to get excited about when it comes to Ohio State's defense this year because they're so good and they just smother everybody. I don't know that this will be interesting, but I guess it could be maybe if like Ohio State decides it wants to get a little loose on defense and Kaliakmanis is rifling some balls up the seam or something like that. I don't know.
I would imagine that Jermaine Matthews is excited for this, and that Davis and Igbenogson is excited for this, and get some balls in the air, and let's challenge these guys, and let's have people throw at us. By the FEI, Brian Fremeau, his rating: Illinois' offense 12th, Washington's offense 16th, Rutgers' offense 18th. So again, like in the discussion, Rutgers has a better offense than Michigan. True or false?
That's tough.
It's close.
It's not an automatic in Michigan's favor. I think I would still say Michigan, but it's close.
And especially Michigan without Justice Haynes, who's out for the year. But it's like George Marshall is excellent. They do have some real receivers. We know Bryce Underwood has a huge upside, and he will make some great throws. We understand all this, but the point
offensive line's better.
the offensive line is better. trivia question for this game, or just like a statement of fact. Ohio State has neither the leading passer, nor leading receiver, nor leading rusher in this matchup. True or false?
Does Cali McManus have more passing yards than Sane?
He does. He has like 40 more
sure.
passing yards than Sane.
Okay.
So like that is weird. Jade Maeva from USC leads the Big Ten in passing yards at 286.8 per game. Ethan Kaliak-Manis, 270.5 per game. Julian Sayin, 267.5 per game. Kaliak-Manis, 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. Sayin, 25 touchdowns, 4 picks. So a difference there. Saying 80% completions, Kaliak-Manis 62.3% completions. But like the point here is like, it just like we're just trying to reinforce that, Rutgers, I don't know. It's like they chuck it around. They chuck
do
it around, man.
Yeah, and for everyone rolling their eyes, like this will be a long windup on Rutgers offense for us both to pick them to score 10 points. But
but then that will be a good job by Ohio State to limit Rutgers to 10 points.
Yeah, I suppose it would be. I am just kind of excited. It's not the right word. Like eager or interested, just to see a team try to put it in the air against Ohio State and see what happens. Right, like. To your point about Jermaine Matthews and Davis Nigmanosin being excited, like I'm excited to watch that because it just doesn't happen a lot. They don't face a lot of pass attempts because usually quarterbacks are getting sacked or checking it down or running for their life or something like that. So I do think that could be the one thing with Rutgers offense is they do get sacked quite a bit. Ethan Kaliak, or I don't know if he's been sacked so many times, but Rutgers has given up 31 sacks this year, more than 3 per game. So it feels like the last couple of weeks, Ohio State has sort of like powered down Arvell Reese. I wonder if they might push the lever back up a little bit, just to get the muscle memory back to where it needs to be before the Michigan game.
See, was it the Nagurski Trophy? Best defensive player, 4 finalists. Caleb Downs is one. Arvell Reese is not.
Oh, I saw that Downs was one. I'm surprised that Reese is not.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's that Jordan Rodriguez guy from Texas Tech, and I can't remember the other two.
He'll probably win.
Congratulations to Caleb Downs for being one of the finalists. Yeah. Points per game, Ohio State's 11th in the country, scoring 37.5. Rutgers is 56th in the country, scoring 29.9. Defensively, Ohio State is first in the country, giving up 7.5 points per game, which again is just like ridiculous. Rutgers is 107th in the country, giving up 30 points per game. They just give up a lot of points. But again, just to like reinforce,
they give up a lot of everything.
They give up. Poor Greg Schiano. Antoine Raymond. Antoine Raymond has 1,000 yards in 10 games. Mm-hmm. So he's averaging exactly 100 yards per game, but that's because he carried it 41 times for 240 yards against Maryland 2 weeks ago. Rutgers is coming off a bye week. So like he hasn't been cranking out 100-yard games all season, but he took it to Mike Locksley's boys.
Yeah. Big win for Rutgers in the Wawa Bowl, the I-95 Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to try to get that sponsored on our old show.
By the way, Ohio State and Michigan playing both ends of the Wawa Bowl this week. Michigan's got Maryland.
Oh, yeah. I do think, why don't they play Rutgers at Maryland last game of the year and make it like an end-of-the-year rivalry?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah, they should. So this is it is an interesting Ohio State offense. By the way, looking this stuff up, Antoine Raymond is second in the Big Ten in rushing yards per game. Emmett Johnson, Nebraska's first. Do you want to know where Bo Jackson ranks? Rushing yards per game. Big Ten. Per game.
7th.
5th. 80.6. I was kind of surprised. I was like, hey, look at that. It's like
he's got like wrong?
What's wrong with the Ohio State run game? And it's like, I don't know. He's fifth Big Ten.
He's 5th in the conference in rushing, and he gets like 12 carries a game.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. Brian Fermo index overall, as we said, Ohio State's number 2 overall. Rutgers is 68. Ohio State is 7 on offense, 2 on defense. Rutgers is 18 on offense, 125 on defense. And this is, it is just like blow your mind and the opposite of what Schiano has traditionally done. When he came back, his first year back was 2020 at Rutgers. They were 63rd in defense, 110th in offense. Then they were 58th in defense, 117th in offense. Then they were 44th in defense and 122nd in offense. Then they were 43rd in defense and 78th in offense. And then now it's completely flipped. So like, we were talking about this the other day, Bill. It's like, do we think Greg Schiano thinks this is fun and cool, or is it driving him crazy that somehow Rutgers, which has been sort of built in the Schiano era. It's the 17th season and 2 different Schiano reigns there, has been built on a defensive identity, and now they can't stop anybody and chuck it around like they're a Mike Leach team. Like, do you think he loves it or hates it?
No, he hates it. There's no way he loves it. Yeah, he would. If you said tomorrow you can flip your identity and be the best, a top 25 defense and the worst offense in the country, he'd sign up for that. They are like legitimately the worst defense in the country. They are dead last in yards per play defense. They are dead last in yards per carry defense out of 136 teams. They're in yards per carry. They're last, and they are a full yard worse than the next team.
What are they giving up in yards per carry? Like over 6? What is it?
6.5. First time since 2022 that a Power 4 team has allowed more than 6 yards per carry on the season.
Mamacita, that is terrible.
Given up, I think, 5 50-yard rushes this year.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That is legitimately really bad.
They're better against the pass, though. They're 125th in yards per attempt on defense. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Last ranked win for Rutgers, 2009 versus number 23, USF. I don't think it's going to come in this one. Of course, when we talk about Rutgers, Ryan Day did get the question this week about them blocking stuff. Mm-hmm. They like to block stuff. They're 4th in the nation in block punts with 3 in 17 years of Greg Schiano. They've blocked 76 total kicks, 46 punts, 17 field goals, 13 extra points. It's an average 76? 4.5 per year. 76 in 17 seasons. 4.5 blocked something per year. And then Ryan, it was funny. Ryan Day this week was trying to talk about Ohio State's block punt, the one that hit Caden Curry in the armpit. And he was like, we had a look and we had guys coming on the other side that threw him off. And that's why the punter punted it 4 feet off the ground into Caden Curry's gut. And it's like, okay. Right. I don't know.
They did have a punt block on.
And they did block the punt.
And they blocked the punt. So what do you want? That's called execution where I come from.
Yeah. I mean, you've done that. Like, haven't you? My golf tenure is terrible, but every now and then it's like, you do one of those. I've done those where like I hit a drive that goes like 2 feet off the ground, but it goes like 180. Yeah. Because it's like and it like skips a couple times, like it's a rock skipping across a pond. And it's like that punter tried to skip a rock across a pond and he skipped it into Caden Curry's armpit. Congratulations to Ohio State. Great special teams play. We're going to make a pick on this eventually. In conclusion on Rutgers defense terrible. Is the offense good? Is like the offense actually good? Or is it they just kind of chuck it around and so they have some stats?
I think it's like above average. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's good.
And what do you think of Ethan Kaliak-Manis? You like that dude or what?
I think he's gotten better like every year. You want to give players credit when that happens. When he was at Minnesota, he was awful. And when he went to Rutgers, I was like, this is a bad idea for Rutgers, like trying to improve its passing attack. But last year, he was like the best quarterback they had in like 10 years, but the bar was incredibly low. And now he's just like the best quarterback they've ever had. But again, the bar is not incredibly high. But this is like statistically, even if it isn't like merely above average. I was reading 11 Warriors always has like a good like kind of like Q&A with a beat writer from the opposing team, and the guy from NJ.com that they talked to said like this is Rutgers' best offense since 2007, which was like Mike Teal and Ray Rice and Tyquan Underwood, that offense. So this isn't as good as that, but it's if it's the best since that's not bad for Rutgers because we know what they've been offensively for much of their Big Ten tenure, and that has been terrible on offense. So.
Yeah, as we said, they already have 1,000-yard rusher. They're going to have a 1,000-yard receiver. They're going to have a 3,000-yard passer. That will be the only other time that's happened at Rutgers is 2007. So they are getting back to that. I want to get back to the Ohio State passing game because if we are anticipating that we don't see Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, we do then anticipate, of course, Brandon Ennis remains a veteran in the slot. We anticipate Mylan Graham. We anticipate Bryson Rogers. We anticipate maybe more Quincy Porter than we got last week. Quincy Porter, Jersey native, can show Rutgers what's up.
That's right.
Ryan Day did say, we kind of were talking about this like right after the game and just, like, hey, like it's receivers and the timing. And if Julian Sands not quite Ryan Day did say that this week. He said that on Tuesday, that there is some of that just not working with guys as much. And then we had, you pointed out, well, Julian Sands, worked with those guys when he was a true freshman last year and was not the starter. But do you believe that Ryan Day said it? Do you believe that perhaps this passing game, because Julian Sayin, and you did a film rewatch that we can talk about here too, about Julian Sayin's day. Do you think the passing game could just look more on point because maybe they're getting more reps in practice this week and they maybe will know what's up and Julian Sayin will have better timing with these guys?
Yeah, I think it will look better. It helps to be playing a bad defense, of course, but I think just this the assumption that they've gotten all the reps together this week should make that look better. I thought that Julian Sayin kind of for the first time all year, like played a little sped up against UCLA.
Okay.
And that is a byproduct of a few things. One, like the unfamiliarity with the receivers, I think is one. And even when those guys were open, I thought at times he was a little hesitant to throw them the ball, including on a play where he got sacked. Like Mylan Graham was sort of open and he didn't throw him the ball. I think if it were Carnell Tate in that spot, I think he would have thrown it, but he didn't, and he took a sack. He had the ankle thing, which like I don't know. Like rewatching it wasn't like, well, no, he can't put any weight on his ankle and he can't drive the ball. Like I didn't see any of that, so I actually think that was probably not that much of a factor, but it's something to consider. The other thing is that like UCLA blitzed him a ton. Highest blitz rate he's faced all year, and
it worked.
It was his worst game against the blitz. He remains one of the better quarterbacks in the country, just like statistically against the blitz. But this was not a good game. So he was blitzed 47.1% of the time, according to PFF, which is the highest all season. And the only other times it's been above 40 were the opener against Texas was 45%, and Grambling it was 40%, but it didn't matter because he was 8 of 8 and they never got to him. But in this game against UCLA, while blitzed, he was 9 of 15 for 59 yards. So that's like not a terrible completion percentage against the blitz, but he's just been more efficient than that. His completion percentage, like his overall percentage on the season while getting blitz is over 80%. So 9 of 15 is a pretty decent drop for him. And then his percentage for the game was down a little bit to 74%, I think. So I think, and I also didn't feel like the Ohio State was doing a ton to like account for UCLA's blitzing. There were a lot of times where UCLA was sending like 6 or 7 and Ohio State was still blocking with 5. And then you also didn't have CJ Donaldson, who is your best pass blocking running back, available either. So there were like a lot of things sort of coming together to create like not the best environment for passing efficiency. And then he still completed 74% of his passes. So it's not like he was terrible, but it was the most off that he's been. And he just to me is a guy who when things have popped up throughout the season that he's seen for the first time, they don't really seem to affect him the next time. So I'm like eager to see that, right? Because I'm sure Rutgers, with an extra week to prepare and nothing to lose really, is probably going to try to heat him up and play aggressively on the outside, thinking that Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate aren't going to be there. And I think Ohio State can perform fine against that, but it will be a nice opportunity to see how Julian Sayin adjusts to like not having his best stuff against UCLA, and we'll see what he puts on the field against Rutgers. Like, if you're looking for a thing to make a game with a 30-point spread interesting, I think that's it.
And I do think, again, I don't think that automatically means if Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, in fact, do not play, that means Ohio State just runs the ball 40 times. Because if you don't know what's going to happen, or even if you feel like, you know what, we're just sitting these guys out to be safe, they're definitely going to be fine for Michigan. It doesn't take much to re-aggravate something or have something different happen. I just think like having Julian Sayin find a rhythm with your second team receivers is advantageous to what Ohio State wants to do. So while it might be a game where you could say, I think we're getting 100 yards each from Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, but I don't think that Julian Sayin's going to be 12 of 16 just because the two best receivers might not play. I think they still have to throw just to reconfirm and double check for themselves that if they get in a situation and a got to have a game, can they throw the ball without their two best receivers? They have to work on that.
They have to work on that. And you want Julian Sayin going into the Michigan game with some momentum, right, and some confidence too. So I think that to me is more important than continuing to build your running backs confidence. They're both important, but I would rather have Julian saying like feeling ready to rock and roll going up to Ann Arbor for the first time. So they'll run it because you have to do it some, and there will be opportunities here in this game. We just mentioned how bad Rutgers run defense is. The thing is, like, Isaiah West and Bo Jackson may each run for 100 yards on like 9 carries each. So it could be that bad. But I that will be interesting to monitor, like how, like what is Ohio State's sort of like disposition? Do they want to run it a lot and just kind of get through it, or are they of the mind too that they need to kind of build that rapport with the young receivers and also build some momentum for saying? Because my lean would definitely be the latter.
Like, subscribe, tell a friend about the Bill and Doug Show. Again, if you haven't been joining us on our Substack, where we write about Ohio State, where we do a big Wednesday show, where we do a Sunday sound off, where we take questions and comments from the game and respond to those, we would invite you to try it. Like, it's kind of go time. Like, there's this Rutgers game, and then it's the Michigan game, and it's National Signing Day, and a potential Big Ten championship game, and then a playoff run, and we just would love to have you with us. So maybe get yourself a present for the holidays. Maybe give it to somebody. Present for the holidays is pretty reasonable. We feel like the content's worth it. Bill drove to Cleveland to report on something this week, right? That's the extra effort there. There. Bill and Doug, OSU.substack.com. It is offensive line week. We did a show about the offensive line here on YouTube and the podcast feeds earlier Thursday, but we have multiple written pieces that are going to be popping up on the Substack as we evaluate Ohio State's offensive line recruiting philosophy and in-state and how that all ties together. And then check out our friends at rhoback.com. RHOBACK.com. 20% off your first order. Check their game day collection, especially. And it's like, again, it's one of those things where it's getting late. So you got to get the Christmas shopping done, right? Mm-hmm. Get your Christmas shopping done. I think you can satisfy your whole family at rhoback.com. You can get mom, you can get dad, you can get aunt and uncle and cousin and grandpa and grandma and siblings and children. Check it out, rhoback.com. Go do it today. Because like, I've had an idea for presents I want to buy, and I keep thinking, I got time. You're running out of time. So try to make time this week. Go to rhoback.com, put in BAD20, BAD20, and then I'm not exactly sure. I would maybe load up, because I think the BAD20 is like, if you order multiple things, you'll get 20% off the entire order. So if you're getting like 4 or 5 different things for people, you're really starting to save some cash then. BAD20 is the code. Before we do our picks, can I give you the thing that I spent my entire prep on, which is why I was like, I don't know what Even Strong does. Can you please talk about that? Because I spent all my prep on this. After Ohio State beat Rutgers in 2016, I wrote for Cleveland.com that Ohio State will never lose to Rutgers, ever. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to check this. Ohio State is 10-0 against Rutgers. And thanks to Winspedia. You on Winspedia much? That website, Winspedia?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I trust, like, I double check some of their stuff, because here's one thing. Ohio State got its 1,000th win as a program against UCLA. We have not noted that here. It has been noted elsewhere. But I think, like, Ohio State didn't make a big deal about it, because when you take away the 12 wins that were lost to NCAA sanctions in the 2010 season, they're only officially at 988. So they couldn't have a 1,000 win parade because the NCAA, I don't know, would kick them in the shins or something. But Winspedia has them at 988. So it's like, oh, like, what do I, like, are we double checking, or do they have the right information? So it's like, okay, that's something to me. So congrats to Ohio State.
Yeah.
1,000 wins, a lot of wins.
It's a lot of wins.
Two programs with 1,000 wins, Michigan and Ohio State. They are 10-0 against Rutgers. Here are the teams in Ohio State history that Ohio State has beaten at least 5 times and never lost to. Okay. 10-0 versus Rutgers. 9-0 versus Maryland. They didn't play Maryland in the COVID year, and now that there's no longer divisions, they didn't play Rutgers or Maryland last year. So maybe Maryland will catch up, but it's 10-0, 9-0. 8-0 against Washington State, which I just find to be odd.
That's pretty strange.
That is
pretty strange. Mostly bowl games?
I guess. I don't know, but even like, but I can't, I can't, like, I don't know. Maybe they were all in the 40s. Muskingum, 7-0. OU, 7-0. Miami, Ohio, 6-0. Bowling Green, 5-0. So these are all the Big Ten teams, according to Winspedia, Big Ten teams that are at least 10-0. So the only team that Ohio State is 10-0 or better against is Rutgers. This is the program that Ohio State has beaten the most without ever losing to them. It's Rutgers, a conference foe now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big Ten teams who are at least 10-0 against an opponent. Minnesota versus North Dakota, 20-0. Penn State versus Lebanon Valley College, which is in the town next to where I grew up.
I was going to say.
Lebanon Valley College. They haven't played since 1935. Penn State is 20-0 against them. Lebanon Valley College is now D3.
They should strap it up. This might have a chance this year.
Yeah, that's true. LVC's coming for you, Terry Smith. Look out. The first movie I ever went to when I was a kid was across the street, the movie theater across the street from Lebanon Valley College. I went and saw The Jungle Book. So, like, that's Lebanon Valley College.
I think I covered, is that the Centennial Conference Basketball Media Day at LVC one time? Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. USC, this is the next in the Big Ten, current Big Ten teams. USC is 17-0 versus Colorado.
What?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's a real team, because when you hear the rest of this list, it's like all these schools that no longer exist are playing like Division 6. 13-0 Washington versus Puget Sound. Now the 10-0s, Northwestern versus Evanston High School. Why is this in the record book? It's a high school team. What is this circumstance? And when was it ever okay for colleges to play high school teams? It's like, I want you to take that, Evanston High School. It's the weirdest thing. And even if it happened, wouldn't you want to erase it?
Yes.
Like, is that part of your official, like when you talk about, so Northwestern is now the losingest program ever because Indiana started winning. It used to be Indiana, but 10 of those Northwestern wins are against a high school. That still counts. What are we doing? Do we count stuff of like, oh, we played the fourth period gym class because I don't know what they were doing back in the 1910s. So anyway, Washington versus San Jose State, 10-0. Again, that's a real one. I was like, that's like a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
10-0 each for Michigan and Michigan State versus Eastern Michigan. And then Ohio State versus Rutgers, 10-0. These Big Ten teams don't have a 10-0 against anybody. Their best record is like 7-0 against somebody. No 10-0s for Oregon, UCLA, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Purdue, Indiana, Maryland, or Rutgers. So that's just kind of like 10-0 is not that common. Now I checked out some other national programs, some of the big time programs. You got 10-0s against anybody. Georgia versus Mercer, 22-0. LSU versus Louisiana, 22-0. Auburn versus Tennessee Chattanooga, 21-0. Texas A&M versus Southwestern, 18-0. Texas A&M versus Sam Houston, 17-0. Alabama versus Tennessee Chattanooga, 14-0. Auburn versus Mercer, 13-0. Auburn versus Louisiana Monroe, 12-0. LSU versus Northwestern State, 12-0. Texas A&M versus Austin, I don't know what that is, 12-0. Tennessee versus Carson Newman, 12-0. Texas versus North Texas, 10-0. Texas A&M versus Louisiana Tech, 10-0. Among the schools with no 10-0s, Oklahoma, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Notre Dame. This is the point. This is unusual.
Yeah.
And I think, and some of those games are like the teams are Division II, they're Division III, they're FCS. They never play those schools anymore. I think we have a chance for over the next 20 years for Ohio State Rutgers to become the most lopsided, never beaten a school head-to-head matchup in major college football.
Do they play next? They don't play next year. They play in 28, I think, right? I think the next time they play is 28. But
so if they play 6 out of 10 years or whatever, it might take a while, right?
Yeah.
But the idea that it's just weird because they're conference foes who had no history prior to being conference foes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will say Rutgers against some other Big Ten teams, they're 0-10 against Ohio State, they're 0-7 against Nebraska, 0-6 against Wisconsin, 0-5 against Iowa, and 0-1 against Oregon, UCLA, and USC. So Rutgers is not the only Big Ten team that Ohio State's not the only Big Ten team Rutgers hasn't beaten. Maryland is 0-9 against Ohio State, 0-2 versus Washington, 0-1 versus Oregon. So this is like really stands out for Maryland. Michigan was nice and took care of this right off the bat. Michigan in 2014, the first year that Maryland and Rutgers were in the Big Ten, Michigan lost to both of them. The first year, 5-7 under Brady Hoke. Lost to Rutgers and Maryland. Just took care of it. So we couldn't be having this conversation. But like, for instance, like Penn State has a history with Rutgers. Penn State lost to Rutgers in 1988 and 1918. Penn State is 32-2 against Rutgers, but they have a loss there. I just can't picture in my head the circumstance in which Ohio State loses a football game to Rutgers.
What if someone shows up to Rutgers and gives it the old Indiana treatment? Is that not possible?
Kurt Cignetti gave Indiana the old Indiana treatment and lost by 38 to Ohio State last year. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I certainly can't envision what it would look like, unless Ohio State decided to play a bunch of high school kids, which seems like they're not going to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it will ever flip. This is a huge spread too, because it's not like in the new world of college football they've gotten closer. Still, I guess there have been some. I think there have been some spreads in the 40s between these two games. If there might have even been one of the 50s one year. I remember, I think it was an Ohio State Rutgers game where people were like, this is the biggest spread between conference opponents ever.
Yeah. I think that's right.
So I guess 31 and a half is not so bad if that's the case. But yeah, I agree with your column. I actually had it up here as we were doing the show because I thought you might reference it.
Yeah.
But I don't, there's nothing.
What a bold, God, I just would fire from the hip. What a bold stance. Look at me. Just not being afraid to shovel dirt on Rutgers' grave.
That's right.
Get in line. Hey, I'll tell you what, everybody else, they're saying, I think Rutgers could become one of the great programs in college football. Not Doug Lesmerises. He's saying they'll never beat Ohio State. That guy's not afraid to speak the truth.
A Rutgers radio person we could get on this week to tell us that they think Rutgers can win.
Yes, a person whose check is cut by Rutgers. What do you think will happen? I think Rutgers has a chance in this game. 31 and a half. Did you think that was interesting? The idea that Ohio State Rutgers could become the most lopsided, zero-sided matchup ever.
I'm a little worried how much time you spent looking all that up.
That's why I didn't know anything about current Rutgers roster. Yeah. I was like, Ian, what? Duff what? Duff what? I didn't know Duff what because I was too busy trying to figure out how many times Auburn beat Mercer.
Isn't Strong and Duff a pretty good like buddy cop tandem?
Oh yeah, it sounds like the buddy cop show that Homer Simpson watches.
Oh right, because of Duff. Yeah, Duff man.
Yeah, Strong and Duff. Yeah.
Or like it could be like a beer and a cigarette, a strong cigarette and Duff beer.
Yeah. Yeah, because they could be, because it would be like, the product placement would be through the roof on the buddy cop show that Homer Simpson watches on The Simpsons. It's Duff Man and Strong the cigarette guy.
Yeah. By the way, Lebanon Valley College 6-4, having a good year. They got our sign us this weekend.
Go Dutchmen! They're the Dutchmen.
They are.
Did you know that?
Yeah,
they're the Dutchmen, Pennsylvania Dutch. Yeah. My dad used to go to the basketball games there. And like yell at the refs enough that people were like, what is wrong with this guy? I was like, that's my dad.
That's incredible.
Yeah. 31 and a half. The only time this game has been even moderately close was last time out in Piscataway. It was 35-16. And the last time Rutgers was in Columbus, Greg Schiano and Ryan Day were yelling at each other and pointing at each other.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
I'm surprised that wasn't asked this week. I guess there's too much injury stuff.
Yeah. Because Jesse Mirko didn't understand American football rules and was like, hey, mate, I'm going to run for a first down in a 40-point lead, mate. And Greg Schiano was like, I will murder you. And then Ryan Day said, don't you murder my punter. And so everyone got mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want some trends before we make our picks?
Trend it. Trend me up.
Against the spread this year, Ohio State 8-1-1.
Yep.
Rutgers 5-5.
Oh.
Ohio State games are 4-6 to the under. Rutgers
so what does that mean? 4-6 to the under. It goes. It went under 6 times or went under 4 times.
6. It went under 6 times.
Okay.
Yeah. And Rutgers has gone over 6 times in 10 games. And I looked this up. Ryan Day in the game before Ohio State plays Michigan.
Oh.
3-2 against the spread.
Okay.
Covered in 21 when they hammered Michigan State, covered in 23 when they hammered Minnesota, and covered last year against Indiana. They did not cover in 2019 when they played a top 10 Penn State team the week before they played Michigan. Okay. And they did not cover in 2022 when they went to Maryland and won 43-30.
Okay.
In a game that they were 27.5 point favorites. That was like the Dallin Hayden game. I think Dallin Hayden rushed for like 200 yards in that game.
As much as I think they need to try to work on the passing game, I think this is a little bit of a shut it down early game. Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. Well, I think it's a get the starters out early game, but when they've put the backup offense in there, they've kind of kept playing.
No, so, I agree with that. Yes.
I think yes, but not in a way that like would impact my score total a ton.
Okay. So I would want to go under, and I would not want to give the points on this. So I'm going to say 38-14 Ohio State. I think 31.5 is a lot.
Yeah.
Assuming Tate and Smith don't play, assuming my guess would be, and a lot of this, we've had ad nauseum conversations over the years. Like, when do you take the starters out? I think the week before Michigan, when you've already got a little bit of stuff going on, I think you go pedal down for a full half. And I just don't know what they will do in the second half. I usually think they play the starters at least 3 quarters. I just would not be 100% shocked if Lincoln Kienholz opens the second half here. I don't know. So I just don't know that it's going to be a 50-point Ohio State game here, right? I know we know what Oregon did to Rutgers, but I don't think that's the circumstance here.
Probably not. I guess the one thing that was on my mind, it didn't like super impact my pick, but Rutgers plays Penn State next week, and if it wins, can get to a bowl game, which is I think is pretty important for Rutgers, and I'm sure they believe they can win that game at home against a beaten up Penn State team in its last game with an interim coach. So might Greg Schiano like pull his guys if the game gets out of hand? And because I do think Rutgers starters, if they stay in the game, can and probably will score against Ohio State's backup defense if the game once the game I'm expecting gets to that point. So that could inflate the total. That could obviously help Rutgers cover if you're like thinking about it in those circumstances. I didn't consider that a ton, but I do think it is one element of this game that could come into play.
Okay. All right. So I was at 38-14. Where are you?
42-14. And that is with the thought that Rutgers probably, I actually don't think Rutgers will score against Ohio State's starting defense, but I think it might score twice against the backup defense.
Okay. I think they could score once against Ohio State's defense. It'll be a nice challenge for Ohio State. So we're right around it, but of course we're on opposite sides of the total a little bit. Both of us would take Rutgers with the points. So that's our picks for this edition. We will see you guys post game. We're both going to the game on Saturday, Bill. So we'll have a live post game show sometime late afternoon on Saturday. We'll go down to the Ryan Day post game news conference. Certainly the talk will turn to Michigan very quickly. So, just subscribe here if you want to catch it on YouTube so you don't miss anything. And then the rest of you on the podcast feed, it'll go up on the podcast feed as soon as possible after we're done on YouTube. And then you can catch it Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever. And we'll have our Sunday morning show for our Substack subscribers at Bill and Doug shoot at Substack.com.
Yeah, and it'll be. I was hoping that Michigan was playing at noon, but they're not. So they'll be playing it. They'll be playing while we're doing our Ohio State postgame show, more than likely. But that'll still probably be heavy Michigan and everything. Basically, once the game ends on Saturday, will be heavy Michigan.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks to you guys as always for being here. We'll see you soon on Saturday. For now, he's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.